I sat down with the movie. The date on the calendar said October 18th, 2025. A good night for a scare. The house was quiet. My family was out. Only me. The room was dark. I turned off all the lights, one by one. The blackness felt thick, like velvet. I had the sound turned up loud. I wanted to hear every creak, every whisper, every breath. I felt small in my own living room. I wanted to test myself. It was a dare I made to myself. A simple question I needed to answer. Could I, a grown man, watch The Exorcist all the way through, all alone in the dead of night? I pressed play. The screen flickered to life, a single white beacon in the oppressive dark. The decision felt both foolish and necessary. We seek out these stories, don't we? We pay our money, or click our remotes to invite the monster into our home. It's a controlled experiment in terror. But control is a funny thing. You think you have it, right up until the moment you don't. The familiar hum of the television was the only comfort. My heart was steady for now. Just a movie, I told myself. It's just celluloid. And sound waves. It can't hurt you. But another part of my mind, the older, more primal part, wasn't so sure. It was listening to the house settle. It was waiting for the story to begin its work on me. The title card appeared. Simple white letters on a black screen. The Exorcist. The name itself has a weight, a history. It carries with it the whispers and warnings of everyone who has seen it before. They tell you it's the scariest movie ever made. They tell you about people fainting in the theaters back in 1973. You laugh it off, of course. We're more sophisticated now, aren't we? We've seen it all. Jump scares and CGI ghouls. But this film, this old beast, it doesn't rely on those new tricks. It has something else, a patience. It was waiting for me in the dark, and I had just let it in. My breath was even. A slow inhale, a slow exhale. I focused on it. A little trick to stay grounded. The room was getting colder. Or maybe it was just me. I pulled a blanket a little higher on my lap. The screen was still dark, waiting. I could hear the faint, high-pitched whine of the electronics. Or was that something else? Was that the start of the music? Already, the doubt begins. Already the film is asking questions of your senses. You start to mistrust the space around you. The movie hadn't even truly started, but the test had. The test of my own nerve against the power of a story. The film opens so slowly. It doesn't rush to scare you. The first scenes are quiet, almost mundane. An archaeological dig in a far-off, sun-baked land. Wind. The scrape of a tool against dirt. The call of a muezzin from a distant minaret. It builds a feeling, not a fright. The camera moves like a slow, deliberate breath, taking in the landscape. The music, when it comes, is not a sudden crash. It's a soft, strange melody that makes the hairs on your arms stand up. It doesn't shout danger. It whispers, "Something is wrong here." I felt my pulse, which had been steady, give a little stutter, a little skip. I told myself to calm down. It was no use. The quiet is what gets you first. Modern horror is so loud, a rock concert of screams and crashes. This was different, the quiet of an empty church, heavy and full of unspoken things. The film uses silence like a weapon. It carves out a space and lets your anxious mind fill it with terrors. Every rustle of my clothes, every shift in my chair seemed deafening. My house, usually a place of comfort, started feeling unfamiliar. The film was teaching me to listen again, and I was hearing things I didn't want to hear. The ordinary sounds of a home at night began to sound sinister. The story shifts to Georgetown, a normal home, a single mother, an actress, her sweet daughter, Reagan. They have a nice life. They play. They laugh. They talk about ponies. The film spends time showing you this piece. It wants you to see the innocence. It wants you to care about this little girl. This isn't just a character. She's a child, bright and happy, about to be torn apart from the inside out. I felt a knot of dread form in my stomach. This wasn't the fear of a monster jumping from a closet. It was the deeper fear of watching something good and pure begin to spoil. My heart was beating faster now, a steady, anxious rhythm. Thump, 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 thump. The film was a slow-moving train. I could feel the rumble long before I could see the engine. The dread wasn't on the screen yet. It was in me, in the anticipation. The quiet domestic scenes were charged with the knowledge of what was to come. The film built its foundation carefully, brick by painful brick. It was laying a trap not for the characters, but for me, the viewer. It made me care, and it made me wait. And the waiting was the worst part, where the fear grew best, like mold in the dark. Regan is just a young girl, 12 years old. She plays with an Ouija board. She laughs with her mother. In the beginning, she looks perfectly normal, the picture of youthful innocence. Then, slowly, the change begins. It is so small at first you could almost miss it. A complaint about her bed shaking. A sudden, uncharacteristic coldness in her words. A night of bad sleep where she does things she can't remember. The first signs are not monstrous. They are medical. They are psychological. The film cleverly dresses the supernatural in the clothes of the mundane, making it all the more believable and terrifying. Her mother thinks it's puberty. The doctors think it's a lesion. No one knows what it is. The change grows. It accelerates. This is not just a moody preteen acting out. The film starts to show you things that are undeniably wrong. Her face contorts into expressions of rage and hate. Her voice, once a child's pipe, deepens into a guttural, gravelly rasp that seems impossible. She says things that cut the air with their cruelty, secrets she has no way of knowing. The scene where she first speaks in that other voice, during a medical hypnosis session, is a masterclass in quiet horror. There are no jump scares. It is just a child strapped to a table, speaking with the voice of a demon. I felt a profound coldness spread through my stomach, a physical reaction to the wrongness on screen. This is the core of the film's power. The idea of possession. Possession is a simple concept, but a deep one. It means something else gets inside you. It takes over. You lose control of your own body. You lose control of your own voice. You lose control of your own mind. It's the ultimate violation. We all carry a deep, primal fear of losing control, of not being ourselves anymore. We see it in our real-world worries about illness. We see it in our real-world worries about dementia. We see it in our real-world worries about addiction. The fear that the person we love is still in there somewhere, but we can't reach them. The Exorcist takes this universal, real-life anxiety and gives it a demonic face. It makes the abstract terror of loss and change horribly, horribly concrete. The people who love Regan feel helpless. The film is as much about their fear and guilt as it is about her transformation. Her mother, a woman of power and influence in the outside world, is reduced to a desperate, terrified parent with no answers. The doctors, men of science and reason, run their tests and offer their theories, but their tools are useless against this intruder. The film shows science failing. It shows medicine being powerless. It shows that there are things in the world that our modern understanding cannot explain or contain. This erosion of certainty is terrifying. If doctors and logic can't save her, what can? The question hangs in the air, thick and suffocating. This movie uses simple tricks, and that is its genius. They used real sets refrigerated to show the actor's breath. They used makeup that was revolutionary but looks rough and textured to our modern eyes. The practical effects are not seamless or polished like today's CGI. They do not need to be. In fact, their roughness makes the horror worse. It makes it feel more tangible, more real. When Regan's head turns, it's a mechanical effect. You can almost feel the clunk and whir of it. That physicality makes it feel like it's really happening in the room, not just on a computer screen. The film makes your body believe what your eyes are seeing. Sound is a primary character in this symphony of fear. Tubular Bells creeps in at the edges of the narrative, an unsettling, off-kilter nursery rhyme that signals a descent into chaos. But just as powerful are the moments of near-total silence. The film uses quiet like a knife. It cuts through any sense of calm, leaves your mind to fill the void. Then, a small noise. A creak from the attic, a strange scratching sound, a whisper from the bedroom becomes unbearably loud. My own mind started to play tricks on me. I was creating images and sounds far worse than what was on the screen, a personalized horror show in the theater of my skull. The lighting is another tool of torment. The film is often dark, deep shadows that seem to swallow the light. A single lamp casts long, distorted figures on the wall. A face lit from below, turning familiar features into a monstrous mask. The famous scene of the priest arriving standing in the fog-filled street lamp's glow is a perfect example. It's just a man and a light, one of the most iconic and foreboding images in cinema history. It's a painting of dread. What you can't quite see is always scarier than what is fully revealed. It lets your imagination do the heavy lifting. Our imaginations are always our own worst enemies. This old magic still works. It works because it's grounded in a reality we recognize. The wind, the cold, the sound of a door slamming shut. These are things that can happen in our own homes. The film doesn't create a fantasy world. It twists our world just enough to make it terrifying. It suggests the barrier between our safe lives and this unknowable evil is paper thin. That belief is what allows fear to grow from a tiny seed into a choking vine of terror. It bypasses the rational brain, speaks directly to our oldest, deepest fears. Watching this film alone was a mistake. A profound, nerve-shredding mistake. The experience became intensely personal. The movie was no longer just on the screen. It was in the room with me. Every sound in my own house seemed to synchronize with the events on screen, creating a horrifying duet. A pipe clanking in the wall became a footstep on the stairs. A gust of wind rattling the window pane became a disembodied voice whispering my name. The film reached out from the television and infected the space around me. It blurred the line between the fabricated horror and the real-world quiet of my home. I could not tell which sounds were mine and which were its. The film is old, but its bite is as sharp as ever. Modern horror, fast cuts and loud jump scares. They are like a quick jab, startling but soon forgotten. The Exorcist moves with the slow, deliberate pace of a stalking predator. It lets the dread accumulate. It builds its terror through atmosphere, through performances, through the slow erosion of hope on the characters' faces. This patient, methodical work leaves a deeper mark. The images don't just flash and disappear, they burn themselves onto your memory. They sit with you long after the scene is over, like a small, sharp stone in your shoe. This slowness also gives you time to think, which is a dangerous thing. The film isn't just about a demon and a little girl. It speaks to more profound adult fears. The terror of watching a child change into someone you don't recognize. A fear every parent understands on some level. Being an adult and not having the answers. Facing a problem that money, science, love cannot solve. It is about confronting the vast, terrifying unknown. The film poses hard questions about faith, evil, the limits of human understanding. And it is brave enough not to provide easy answers. That lack of resolution is a key part of its enduring power. The scenes that stayed with me were not the most shocking ones. They were the small, quiet moments of wrongness. The Ouija board sliding on its own. A doctor's bewildered face as he listens to a recording. A whisper from a room that is supposed to be empty. These are the things that linger. These are the moments that make you look twice at the quiet corners of your own home. That is the lasting, insidious power of this film. It doesn't rely on big, explosive shocks that fade with the light. It plants small, true seeds of fear that feel disturbingly possible, and they take root deep inside you. I tried to be brave. I am a grown man after all. I told myself I could watch it to the end and then simply go to bed. I watched as the priests began their desperate work. The final act felt like climbing a mountain in a storm. It was exhausting and relentless. I felt wound up tight as a spring, yet utterly drained. When it finally ended, I just sat there, in the suffocating dark. The credits rolled in silence over the screen. The only sound was my own breathing, loud and ragged. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. The test was over. I had failed. Sleep was not an option, not right away. My house sounded different now. The film had put a new filter over my perceptions. The familiar groans, the familiar sighs were no longer comforting. They were menacing. The movie had left a quiet, potent image in my mind. The contorted face, the unnatural voice. I finally reached out a trembling hand and turned on a lamp. The sudden flood of warm light was a relief, a physical release of tension. I needed the light. I desperately needed to see my room as just my room again, not as an extension of that house in Georgetown. The film is more than a movie. It's a psychological test. It finds what scares you on a personal level and pokes at it. It uses simple truths about love loss and pairs them with the grand, terrifying idea of pure evil. It shows us with agonizing slowness what true fear feels like. Watching The Exorcist alone is not just a cheap thrill or a Halloween dare. It is a voluntary walk into a quiet, dark room where your own mind fills the silence with its worst creations. It holds up a mirror and forces you to confront the shadows within. I left the television on for a few minutes, the screen glowing a vacant blue. I looked at the blank wall opposite me, half expecting a shadow to detach itself and move. I tried to chuckle at my own foolishness, but the sound caught in my throat. The fear hadn't vanished when the credits rolled. It had simply become softer, more patient. It sat in the corner of the room like a quiet, waiting presence. With a final, decisive click, I switched off the screen. The room felt the same, and yet not the same at all. I took a deep breath and walked to my bedroom. I did not turn off the hall light. In today's video, we're diving into The Exorcist, a film that redefined the horror genre and still chills audiences decades later. The Exorcist is more than just a horror film, it's an experience that has left a lasting impact on viewers worldwide. Its influence can still be seen in many modern horror films. The themes and atmospheric tension contribute to its enduring popularity. It's a film that has become a staple in horror culture. The Exorcist set a new standard, raising questions about evil and the supernatural. Its eerie atmosphere and intense scenes are iconic. Possession taps deep fears, losing control, vulnerability, innocence lost, the fragility of the human spirit. Groundbreaking practical effects and sound design make it feel real. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to check out our next video on another horror classic and share your thoughts in the comments.